After months of naval and air bombardment, on the morning of February 19, 1945, Marines began to storm the beaches of Iwo Jima. 4 days later, the Marines had pushed across the black volcanic beaches, through the jungle, and up Mount Suribachi to plant the United States flag. The 5th Amphibious Corps continued to push toward the center of Iwo Jima, finally securing the island's 3 airfields after weeks of fighting. On March 16th, the island was declared secure, though small pockets of fighting would continue until the 26th. The Battle of Iwo Jima was the Corps' bloodiest battle in the Pacific theater. The fighting resulted in more than 26,000 American casualties, including 6,800 dead. 27 Medals of Honor were presented to Marines and sailors who fought during the battle, more than any other battle in the history of the United States. 14 were presented posthumously. Among the men who fought on Iwo Jima, uncommon valor was a common virtue. Admiral Chester W. Nimitz.
Welcome to Hometown Heroes. This is Rick Irving with my co-host Mary Staffeld, and we are excited to be here today. Just in a few weeks, our good friend and Iwo Jima survivor Don Graves is going to celebrate his 100th birthday. So, everybody knows and loves Don, and we're just excited about this birthday party coming up. So, Mary, tell us about the birthday party.
Well, Rick, it's going to be a big one. So, and it's open to the public. It will be on his actual 100th birthday, May 3rd, from 12 to 3 at the Hearsay in Arlington. And this is a great flyer put together by the folks there at the Hearsay. And there will be appetizers, non-alcoholic beverages available at no cost. And there will be a menu and adult beverages available for anybody who would like to partake. So from 12 till 3, people can come and go, and they can come and enjoy spending some time with Don, shake his hand, take his picture, ask him stories, whatever you would like to do. It's going to be really a day to celebrate what we know is quite the man, quite the hero. And we will, of course, do cake. We'll have a great big cake. And about 1 o'clock is when we'll do most of that stuff. We'll do the cake. We have some special presentations that are surprises for Don. So I'm not going to share them here because he might hear this or somebody else might hear it and tell him. But we have several really neat surprises. And I think he's really going to enjoy this special day. And, kind of the plan is to make it where we have a nice backdrop for folks to take pictures with him. So come, bring your family, bring your friends, come celebrate Don on his 100th birthday. And
as a special deal, it's a scholarship fund has been set up because, at 100 years old, you pretty well have all the stuff you need. Right. And people are giving Don things all the time. So the United States Marine Corps, World War II veteran Don Graves, they've set this fund up, and it's for the Irving Marine Corps Junior ROTC. It'll be a scholarship in his name. So that's just a great way to honor Don Graves.
Yeah, for real. Because you know how he loves to talk to the high school kids.
He does.
Age groups that he enjoys talking to, because they're at that point of, he was their age when, like many of the men in World War II, when he ran to the recruiter's office and wanted to sign up before he was even old enough to sign up. So he loves to talk to them and share stories with them and encourage them along the way.
And this birthday party, I think several months ago, everybody knew it was coming. I mean, we've had some organizations that have celebrated it back in February or March. And so I think several organizations kind of got together, including you and Roll Call. and said, hey, we don't want to have separate birthday parties, but let's just have a big one. So I think our friends at the Air Power Foundation, Fort Worth Air Power Council, and some other organizations have joined in to just create one big birthday party on his birthday. So
yeah, very special. And it just shows the coordination between the different groups. And Don is an ambassador for the Air Power Foundation. And we all know the Air Power Foundation does so much great work for the veterans and the military community here. So it's been a really great idea. And the Air Power Foundation has supported this junior ROTC in the past. So it was a great connection because it's a Marine junior ROTC, which is what speaks to Don's heart. And the young people speak to Don's heart. So it's a really neat way to honor the man that, as you said, Rick, needs absolutely nothing. And his daughter would appreciate it if he weren't to be bringing home a whole bunch of stuff that she then has to find a place for.
Don, he's sang God Bless America. He spoke to hundreds of thousands of people and still does. I mean, he's out there. I was talking to somebody the other day. They said, yeah, Don called me and said, I'm bored. I wanted to go do something. I mean, that's like every day.
Right.
He wants to go get plugged in with people.
Yeah.
And he's such a personal guy. I mean, we've had some great friends that have been World War II veterans, and they were out there, they were telling their stories, and they had their own personality, their own way of doing it. But Don, I mean, he's like at the top of the list on getting out there and performing at 100, I mean, almost 100 years old.
Yeah, the national anthem, God Bless America. I keep his calendar, and he so if anybody wants to book him to speak or sing, they contact me. And he does at least 10 events every single month. So imagine being 100 years old and you're still out speaking and singing. And sometimes he's got 2 or 3 things in one day.
He's hard to keep up with.
He
Absolutely.
I always tell people the stories about, I take Don and I will have stuff to get out of the car, but I get his walker out first and I bring it around to the side of the car where he is, and he gets a hold of it and he's gone to the entrance of where we're going before I can even close the back of my car and get the stuff out of the car. So then I have to go chase him down inside wherever it is that we're going. I'm like, Don, could you just wait for it?
Today we're going to talk about Don, honor Don, and we've got some videos to play, some pictures that go along with some stories. But, Don Graves, his main song is God Bless America. And this is him. He's going to tell kind of the history of this song. And this is at an Air Power Foundation pre-Skyball event a couple of years ago. So this is a little bit about the song Don Graves sings.
You back, I saw his, there you are. Don, come on up here. Don is Don's our Marine. He sang a little bit earlier. Marine, Iwo Jima Survivor, and you got it, buddy.
I want to go home and go to bed.
Yeah, right.
Let me tell you something, folks. In 1941, after the war started, Kate Smith went to Irving, Berlin, and said, Irving, it's time to have another patriotic song. He said, I'll see what I can do. He went through his file. 22 years before that, he wrote God Bless America. It was a poem. And he gave it to her, says, do what you want with it. And she had some people get together with her, and they arranged another patriotic song. And she did just get on the internet and hit Kate Smith, and you will get goosebumps. You will hear that song like you never heard. Now let's hear what you do with it. We're going to sing it together. God Bless America. All right, sing it. God bless America, land that I love. with the light from above, from the mountains, oh the prairie, oh the ocean, oh I before. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, thanks.
You can't hardly listen to that you don't want to sing along with him. I mean,
Yeah.
and
And he always has people sing with him. So sometimes people don't know if they should or not, but he wants people to sing with him. That's very important to him. And he sounds just the same today as he did then. It's shocking how amazing his voice still is, how strong it still is.
it is. And I've heard a lot of people make that comment that, for somebody that old, he's got such a strong voice, because he's been a performer his whole life, I think.
Right.
So,
Right.
we think about Don and we see him, and but Iwo Jima was a horrible experience for every young man that hit the beach. And you and I have heard story after story of Don's experience. And I wanted to play a story. This a couple of years ago, our friends at Omaha Military Surplus had World War II vets come in, had donuts and coffee, and they got to visit with the people that were shopping there. And so I had Don tell some Iwo Jima stories, and here's one that we both heard many times, but it's kind of a sad story.
We were about 3 or 4 days away. It ended on the north end. The Japs pulled out and they went down by the water. Well, if we went after them, they'd go in the water, so we waited them out. If they're going to surrender, we kill them. Every night we'd have a charge, but we'd kill 200 or 300 of them. So the thing we had to worry about were the snipers, and it was hard to find them. So I'm sitting in the hole. I said, I'm going to be looking. So I told my other two buddies. So I got up on the bank like this, and I'm looking around about 15 minutes. Nothing. Slid back down. My phone rang and I picked it up. I said, Graves, you got a replacement coming. He'll be there in about 10 minutes. Be on the lookout for snipers. They're firing up here at CP. I says, I was there for 15 minutes. I didn't see a thing. He said, keep on looking. So I had the glasses in my hand. This kid slides over and he said, who's Graves? I said, I am. He said, what do you want me to do? I just sit there. You'll be plenty to do tonight. So he was sitting there and he's, well, I got to be looking out for the sniper. He said, Graves, let me take a look. I die, get yourself shot. One of my buddies says, give him the glasses. That's what he's here for. I threw him the glasses. He got up there. We're shooting the breeze. Fell back right here. His helmet flew off between my feet. We were stunned because we didn't expect that. And I looked down in that helmet. I saw a beautiful girl sitting in a chair. And on her lap was a baby. I lost it. Man, I just lost it. One of my buddies comes over and slapped me in the face. I kind of came out of him, got my stuff back on. I called in. I said, we're pulling into another hole. This kid is dead. They said, we'll have him picked up. So we moved to another hole. He took my place. I don't know how else to say it. He took my place. How do you answer that one?
Like that guy said yesterday, damn luck. Just a lot of.
One of those stories that, just one of the experiences that he's got from that 36 days that he was on Iwo Jima.
Yeah, and when he tells that story, if you hear his whole story from the beginning to the end, from when he hit the beach in the very beginning, and he made that prayer to God and said, if you get me off this island, I'll serve you the rest of my life. And you fast forward to that time in the foxhole, and he throws all of his gear off, and he curses the Marine Corps, and he curses the war, and he curses the island, and he says, and listen, folks, I cursed God. And so he had all these connection points back to that event on the beach, and then into the foxhole, and then on to life later, before he became a pastor. So that's one of those stories that really touches your heart, because as most veterans that experience what Don experienced, they always wonder, why them and not me? Why was it that my life was spared? So that survivor's guilt is so real. And I don't think he realized for a long time that he was dealing with survivor's guilt. But that was part of what that 9 years in between the time he left that island and the time God got a hold of him. I think a lot of the behaviors that he had going on were very much related to that survivor's guilt.
And with the amount of people in his unit that hit the beach that day, of over 335, only 18 of them walked off the beach.
Yep.
So there's 18 of those men that walked off the beach that probably had a lot of survivor's guilt over the years.
Yep.
And Don's probably the only one of that 18 left alive, isn't he?
Well, he's one of two from of the 18. Billy Bird lives in Mississippi, and he was in Don's unit. So they're the only two of the 18 still with us. There are probably, so it depends on which sources you look at. I think there were 8 or 9 Iwo Jima survivors that went back in February or March back to Iwo Jima this year for the 80th. But the Iwo Jima Association folks that I talked to said that they think there's somewhere around 100 total survivors left from the entire battle on Iwo Jima, but they're not sure because some of them are hard to find.
Okay.
They don't keep up a directory all the time. It's hard to find where the folks end up when maybe they move in with their kids or they go into, a facility or whatever. And sometimes you lose track of them. But of the 18 that walked off that island, only 2 of them for sure we know are surviving.
And it's not going to be many more years until they're all going to be memories. So in 2017, about the same time we did, and we the Marine pilots train, the Navy pilots train, but it's a Marine Corps for sure. And we had some functions that he had some speaking engagements with the Marines down there. But one day we were doing an interview with a television station, and we were sitting at this conference table, and I noticed that there was a reflection in that table. And I gave Don this flag. I said, I need to take a picture. And, that's probably one of my favorite pictures I've taken of Don was with that flag that day. But as things would happen, we were in a hotel right across the street from McGuire's Irish Pub, which is a hangout in Pensacola. And so, we go there at lunch, and then we go back after our day was finished. We'd go there, and it was real convenient because we could just walk right back across the street. Well, the first night we went there, there's a friend of mine. His name is Mossy Moran. He's from Ireland, and he is an entertainer, sings all these Irish songs. And so I go down there in between songs and said, hey, Mossy, I've got Don Graves here. He's a World War II veteran, and he sings God Bless America. And Mossy said, sir, he said, nobody gets my microphone. This is my show, and I don't share my microphone. I said, that's fair enough. So as things would happen, Mossy took a break. He came up to where we were, and I introduced him to Don. Well, in just a few minutes, this is what I saw.
God bless America. You radicals out there, impeach that. I want you to sing with me. We're going to sing the great song, God Bless America. Everybody, sing with me. God bless America. Light with the light from above, from the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, wide before. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless my home, sweet home.
Thank you so much, Don.
You know, Don remained on that stage, and I didn't know he knew the words to every Irish song that Mossy played.
yeah.
But he sang a lot of songs with Mossy. And even today, Mossy says that's one of the most memorable nights of his life to meet Don Graves. So just a absolute gentleman and one of those guys that everybody loves. And, we talk about going places. This was for the 100th anniversary of Lincoln car, the Lincoln brand and the Lincoln car. And this was over at Planet Lincoln, Love Field, a couple of years ago. And right after this picture was taken, Don had a spell. And I thought, man, not on my watch. I don't want to lose him. I mean, he said, I don't feel well. He sat on this stage, and then all of a sudden he just fell back, and these people were doing CPR on him, and the fire trucks and ambulances came. And, I could not for the life of me remember Sandy's name, his daughter's name. I had to call somebody and said, what is his daughter's name? I've got to talk to her. And so, I talked to her, and they took him to the hospital, and he turned out it's okay. It's just, he just got dehydrated. Mm-hmm. Well, our friends over there at Planet Lincoln, the next day, they sent him a big gift box, and in it they had some bottles of water and said, stay hydrated. So, it's just one of those things that you just run into, but I didn't want to lose Don Graves on my watch. That would be not.
And now everywhere we go, if anybody brings him a glass of water or a bottle of water, he goes, Mary's been talking to you, hasn't she? Because I'm always like, Don, drink some water. You're going to have an alcoholic beverage. You're going to drink some water. So it's just really important. It's important for everybody to stay hydrated, but especially as you get older, it gets real easy to not. Anybody who has traveled with Don has had those moments where you thought maybe it was going to be on your watch when the last moment came, and you're always praying that please don't let it be, because that would be an awful feeling. But I've been blessed to be able to travel to Pearl Harbor with him. We've gone so many places and to so many speaking engagements, to so many galas and golf tournaments and, clay shoots, speaking to schools, speaking to homeschools, speaking to community events, you name it. And I've taken that guy, I put on miles and miles and miles on my car, taking him places. And the good thing is my driving doesn't scare him. I drive a little fast. I don't drive bad. I just drive fast. Like I learned to drive in the, suburbs of Chicago and on the tollways in Chicago, and you have to be an aggressive driver. So it's just in my nature. My dad used to call me Mary O. Andretti.
Mario Andretti.
So yes, he definitely knew I had a lead foot. So, but Don always just laughs and he says, "There she goes again." Yeah, it didn't bother him at all.
It wasn't long ago that he stopped driving. Just about 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So even 97, maybe 98, he was still driving. And one day we were going up to Gainesville, and he said, "Rick," he said, "I sure am glad you're driving." I said, "Don, I am too. I sure wouldn't want to ride with you." Oh, what a character. But, being with him at different places, you meet a lot of famous people. I mean, people and, Medal of Honor recipients and 4-star generals, they come to see Don. Don doesn't go see them. I mean, he's like a magnet for people. About a year or two ago, we were at the Special Operations Warriors Foundation event, and Cole Hauser and his wife Cynthia were there. And I always have to get there early, so Don was sitting in a chair over in the corner, and they walked in, and somebody said, "There's an Iwo Jima survivor." And Cole, as most people know, this is Rip from Yellowstone. And Cole and Cynthia came over there, and apparently Cole's grandfather or great-grandfather had fought at the Battle of Iwo Jima.
Wow.
And so they spent the rest before the gala started over there talking to Don. So just some of the fabulous people that Don attracts.
Mm-hmm.
And, he also attracts a lot of females.
Well, that's his favorite, and the more pictures you could take with them, like I plan when I take Don places, I plan for, okay, we're going to leave at this time, because I know that really means about an hour later, because as you try to leave a room, everybody wants to take a picture with Don. Well, if it's a pretty woman and Don gets his arm around her, you got to take extra pictures. So it's, we've learned to be good picture takers, haven't we, Rick?
We have. And, I always kind of joke about contributing to the delinquency of an old World War II veteran, because Don kind of likes to hold these women he's got taking pictures pretty close. And after a little bit, it's kind of, you can tell that it's time for them to go away. And just about the time they break loose, I'll say, "Oh, just one more." And Don will wink.
Yeah. You guys have a system for sure.
But, one night we had gone to an air power council meeting, and we were coming back by the stockyards. There was a new place open. So I said, "Don, let's go there." And afterwards, we walked over to Hotel Drover. He hadn't been there before. I said, "Let's walk through the lobby." It's about 10:30 or 11. And so it's a very nice hotel. And in the lobby, there was a couch, and there were 3 women sitting there. And we walked by, and Don said hi to them, and one of them was a history teacher. Another one, her grandfather had fought in World War II. So, I mean, it was like they wanted to talk to Don. And it wasn't, and let me preface this by saying that long ago when I started going with him, taking pictures, he just said, "Don't post a lot of pictures with me and women, because my daughters will get upset with me." Well, he's just a couple of weeks from 100 years old, so I don't think Sandy and Debbie are going to get too upset. But after about 30 minutes of talking to these women, this is about how it ended up. So there he is. This is like where he loves to be, and they're showing a little bit of appreciation for him. So, Don, don't hold that against me, but there's some pictures with women.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure his daughters are very well aware.
I think they are.
Yeah. I talk to Sandy quite regularly, so she knows. She knows what she's got going on. So, but I have to applaud her for a lot of times grown children, don't want that, what they consider to be a burden of having a parent. And now Don's pretty easy, right? Because he can still take care of himself. He doesn't need help with any activities of daily living. In fact, you and I know it's only been the last couple of years even that he's used a walker. And before that, he might have used a cane occasionally, but that wasn't even something he did very much. But he's still perfectly capable of taking care of himself. I'll take him when I pick him up from places sometimes, or take him somewhere. He'll say, "Hey, can you drop by the bank or the cleaners or whatever?" Because he's not driving anymore. But other than getting a ride, he doesn't really need a lot of help. So, but his daughter, when they were living, his mom and his wife and he were living in Arizona, and Sandy's mom, Don's wife, got ill. She said, "We can't keep flying back and forth. You guys need to move here with us in Texas." And they ended up here. And Don has lived with her ever since. And she really takes great care of him. She makes sure his doctor's appointments are taken care of and everything else. So she can even that's even on the calendar I keep, is his doctor and dentist and eye and everything else. All those appointments are on the calendar I keep. So I don't schedule him to go speak or sing somewhere when she's set him up with an appointment. So we really heavily coordinate to make sure that Don is taken care of.
And some people don't understand that. They just think, "Hey, can you see if Don can do this tomorrow?" No, you've got to go make appointment with them.
Yeah. Well, another thing is sometimes they want to call him and they don't understand, why do I need to go to this other person to do this? And that's because at almost 100 years old, he the last year or two, he hasn't been able to read his own writing when he puts an appointment on the calendar, and he can't hear real well. So he might act like he hears what you're saying, and you'll say, "Hey, can you come do X, Y, and Z?" "Oh, yeah. Because he thinks he knows what you're saying, but then he doesn't, and he doesn't even know who he talked to, and he doesn't have a phone number. And then now we're double booked, and I have to deal with that. So these are the kind of things that happen, but we want him to get out. He wants to get out. Like you said, Rick, he doesn't like to sit still. And so we love for people to invite him out to speak and sing. If you invite him out to speak, we just ask that you give him enough time to actually speak. Sometimes people go, "Oh, well, can he share something in 10 minutes? Well, in 10 minutes, he can't hardly, say a few words. But if you give him 30 or 40 minutes, he's going to share some stories with you that are going to matter.
Absolutely.
That's the sweet spot.
And there's one person here, Sherry Holt. She's a friend of mine. She said, "We'd love for Don to come to our school and speak to our students. They need to hear from a true American hero." So maybe, Mary, you and Sherry can get together and make an appointment before school's out, and he can go over there to see those kids, because time's of the essence at 100.
Right.
So
Right.
Sherry, we'll try to make that happen, because I know that we've had some communication before about that. So a lot of comments today. Our friend Megan Miller said, "Good morning, my favorite patriots." And Cameron McNutt, "We love Don Graves. What a fun way to partner with the council and roll call to celebrate a national treasure." She said, "I never get tired of hearing Don sing that song." We don't either. From now on, for the rest of our life, every time we hear that, we're going to think of Don Graves. And our good friend Chris, she does so much. Good morning, beautiful people.
Yeah. She was recently recognized at the, I think it was Tarrant County, and I know Chris will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was at the same time and place that Don was recognized for their work. Christine, that girl, she's working with all kinds of different groups. She works with the American Legion. She works with all the organizations on base. She is just everywhere, taking care of everything. And she has a family to take care of too. So she is a busy person, but she really has dedicated herself to serving other people.
She is indeed. And then Sean just put a heart, and Cameron said, good thing our Air Power Foundation royalty will be at his birthday party for lots of pictures of pretty women.
Well,
So,
I sure hope that they'll take them, Cameron, because my stand there and take pictures over and over with other people's phone gets real old real fast. So I'd appreciate it if they'd be the ones manning the camera.
yeah, and that's hard for me too, because I've got a camera and I'm taking pictures of people, and then they want to come and hand me cameras, and then I'm trying to take the official picture, and it kind of gets discombobulated. So it's always nice to have somebody else
because
there.
you're always carrying all kinds of stuff too, so you got your hands full already. But it's going to be a really great event, and I hope a lot of people do come out and support Don and show how much they love him. And and I didn't mention it before, but so the Rangers do play that night, which is why we're doing his party from 12 to 3 and not in the evening. We wanted to originally do it in the evening, but with the Rangers playing in the deal that Mayor Jim Ross is doing for us at the Hearsay, we just couldn't pass it up. So we moved the time. And parking, there will be valet parking available at the Hearsay for $20 a car. So carpool if you want a valet. And the parking folks told me that they think that the lot across the street from 12 till 2, maybe even 3 should still be free. So, if you want to try to get free parking and walk across the street, then make sure that you get there, closer to 12 than to 3. I don't know what time they'll close that lot down and start charging for people that are coming to the game. They don't open the doors and let you in until 2 hours before games start. And I believe the game starts at 6 or 7. So we're hoping that lot stays free the whole time that we're there, but just so that people know.
Yeah, that's going to be a great event. You're talking about Don just recently in the last few years using a cane, but he has been getting around pretty good. This was about probably 2.5, 3 years ago, and this is how well he got around back then. So that's just a little taste of Don and his dancing, and Fisk was like that too. Fisk, even at 100, he was still dancing. So
yeah, they're amazing. I don't know what they made those men of, but wow,
they have the stuff. I'm going to share another story. This was also at Omaha's that day, and an interesting thing about that day. You never know who you're going to run into or who's going to run in and make that connection. That's the first day, whenever we were at Omaha several years ago, that Ricky Stober, he came there to see these guys, and then he started coming to roll call. And he's a young fellow that's a historian, got a museum, and it's really nice to see him working at the Medal of Honor Museum, because that's like his special place now.
That's his happy place.
But this is another story that Don has about a thing that happened on Iwo Jima.
I tell the one about where I shot a Jap in the leg?
Yeah, tell us.
With a bottle of sake?
Yeah, tell us that story, Don.
All right.
This is Don Graves, Iwo Jima survivor.
It was about halfway up to the north end of the island, about 3-4, going on 4 weeks in combat. And we were in a hole at night. The flares would be coming down, light up the ground. And I looked off, probably 1,000 feet away or better. And 2 Japanese came out of a cave, and they're standing there in their bikinis, whatever you call it. And they had a bottle of sake, a big jug. And both of them were drunk with it, and we all watched. Nobody fired yet, and you could hear them yell. And they were talking back and forth, and I said to one of my buddies in the foxhole, I said, I think the one on the left I'll drop. They said, you can't hit him. So I took their M1, I used it, fired away, hit him in the thigh and knocked him down. And he was screaming and yelling, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. The other guy had the bottle of sake, and he held up the bottle of sake. Then he looked at the guy in the ground. He reached down, got him back up, and both of them stood up staggering. And then my buddy said, go ahead and finish him off. And, I couldn't do it. I felt so sorry for the both of them. I just couldn't do it. So my buddy took the rifle, and he dropped them both. But that was a humorous but a sad story.
How about the story about the hot chocolate?
Oh, the hot chocolate. Yeah. Well, we were in a hole, sat there for a whole day, and I said, I feel like hot chocolate. There were 3 of us in the hole. We had no squads. And they said, we'll make enough for all 3 of us. So we all chipped our ration bar and chocolate bar. And I diced it all up, put it in my canteen, got it all ready. I had demolition, took a chunk off, lit it, it burns beautiful. And it started simmering. And one of them said, boy, that smells good. What happened, the odor got so strong that I heard a voice off in the front line with the Japanese, and the Japanese soldier yelled, hey, Marine, very good chocolatto. You bring chocolatto here. I said, if you want chocolatto, you come here and get it. He says, oh, no, you bring here. Little humorous story.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Don.
You're welcome.
That's always a good story about the chocolatto.
Yeah, I like to have him tell that story just because people do need to see there is a little bit of humor and good nature in war even. So I love to have him tell that story.
I do too. One of our good friends, Eric Newton, Vietnam veteran, Purple Heart recipient, said looking forward to being at Don's birthday celebration. And then the Battling Betties, Patricia Mayo, 99% radio talk show. She said, good morning. Good morning, Patricia. Thank you for all you do for Roll Call and for our veterans. You're a great American.
Yeah, they're doing that. They're doing an event that same day. So she's got to kind of
that's right.
through that because they're doing a pinups thing at, I think it's Indian.
Right around the corner from Richmond.
Yeah. And so that happens to be going about the same time. So she's kind of trying to figure out how do we make a show at both. So we're hoping
back on a motorcycle and drive fast.
Yeah. But yeah, the Battle and Betty, she is responsible for that group, and they are so supportive of Roll Call, but they're supportive of all the veteran service organizations. And in July, they've done, this year will be the 3rd year that they're going to do, since we don't do a lunch on a Saturday, we're going to have one of our, I can't remember what we call it anymore. Patty will probably chime in and tell me. But where the Battle and Betties really host an event and the donations go to Roll Call. But apparently they may have to find a new location because we're starting to outgrow the one that we've used the first 2 years. But it's fun. Everybody enjoys it. It's just a fun time.
And it does raise some money, and it is a fun time. That's a good event.
Yep.
Let's see, Don, I've got another one I want to show you about. This is at his 96th birthday party at Cafe Republic. For you that don't know where Cafe Republic is, it's out off of North Beach, just south of Heritage Trace, and it's owned by Jimmy Palazzani, his family, and EK, another Fort Worth policeman. It's a great place to eat, and in the morning time, if you go there, you're liable to see Don. He's got a table, and he's eating breakfast there very often. So this is just
every morning.
This is just another rendition of "God Bless America."
Let us remember the ones that have fallen. Don't forget that. And God bless all the Marine Corps. Any Navy men around? How about you all singing with me, God Bless America? Will you do it?
Let's do it. Do it.
Let's do it. Oh,
Yeah, until I went back through the videos, I'd forgotten that Betsy Price, our former mayor, had given Don the key to the city, and that's a big deal. Not
Yeah,
everybody gets the key to the city.
for sure. He has, man, he's made a mark.
He has indeed. He's a great American. And also the NASGRB 10 miler is the same morning. Everyone sign up and go to Don's birthday party. So
Yeah, well, and so if the 10 miler scares you, there is a 5 miler. So you don't have to do the 10. Like I cannot run. I probably could, but I probably shouldn't run 10 miles at one time anymore. So, and you can even walk run, you know, as long as you finish within whatever the time limit is, you can walk, you can run, you can do a combination. But there is a 5 miler that morning that will get you done a little bit quicker. And it's out on the flight line, and it's, flat and fast. And so, support the Navy as well, the organization within the Navy that's doing that. If you would enjoy doing that. So you get better sign up pretty soon, though, because I don't know how much longer they leave that registration open. But it'll be a fun time. Yep, and then come out to the party. Take a shower first. We appreciate that. I'll be out there, so you'll appreciate if I take a shower before I come.
I hope so.
Yeah, for sure. I don't smell real good, and when it gets when I go out and do a run, so I don't try to be around people.
So his birthday party again is coming up, and it's going to be at Hearsay in Arlington, Saturday, May the 3rd, 12 to 3. So you can go to roll-call.org and see more information about a lot of things we're doing at Roll Call. This week is the big luncheon at the base.
Yeah. So before we move on from Don's party, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jeff Owing and Owing's Auto, who has been for several years a very strong supporter of Don and of Roll Call. In fact, he came to us because of Don. He met Don and then found out about Roll Call. So he has been a really strong supporter, and he is covering some of the costs for that party. And so we can't thank him enough for his sponsorship of this event. So I want to make sure I don't miss out on that.
And his sponsorship of Roll Call, because
huge.
For years, Jeff and his company have been a great donor for Roll Call. And whenever he got in business and set this company up, they said, we want to have a certain amount of money that we want to donate to a worthy cause. Every, I don't know how often he does it, but he has been a sustainer for Roll Call. So we just appreciate them and appreciate all our other great donors.
Yeah, we can't do it without them. We seriously cannot do it without it. And you mentioned this Friday, our base luncheon, the Gary Sinise Foundation is our primary sponsor for this particular luncheon. So this one definitely is a bit more expensive than our average. So, we're always grateful for whatever help we get with this particular luncheon. And at this time, we have about 630 of our Roll Call members signed up. And that does include our volunteers, which we have just the most amazing volunteers. You guys have heard me talk about that before. Just wonderful people that come month after month after month and give up their time. Nobody at Roll Call gets paid, not one board member. There is not a paid staff.
Nor photographers.
Nor the photographer. Yeah, the photographer, and sometimes we have two with Kay, who is just a very long time volunteer, also amazing person, and her daughters as well. We've watched them grow up as volunteers. But we'll have kids from Granbury Stars Academy. They'll be out helping to volunteer this Friday. And then the base has been asking their folks. So we're asking about 200 base personnel, actively serving base personnel, folks that they want to, have the opportunity to come out and have lunch with the veterans. So we'll have about 800 give or take, depending on, weather and who shows and everything else, but somewhere around 800 people this Friday at our luncheon on base. And as I usually say, if you didn't RSVP, you can contact us. Well, you can't do that this time because we had to have people cleared. So without being cleared in advance, and that time has passed. So we've sent out the list to all of the folks we have emails for. So if you did not get the list and all the information and we don't have your email, then you'll have to contact us to be sure you're on the list. But the base cleared the folks that we asked for to be cleared to get the folks on base. And this Friday, starting at 11:30, will be our big luncheon. The Navy skipper who we've had on before, Captain Huffstedler, will give an opening address after the colors and the prayer and the anthem and the pledge. He'll give a little open welcome, and we'll serve the meal, which Brenda always does just a fabulous job with. And then after that, we'll have our speaker, and we've had him on our show before, Tom Starr. And he is going to be a really great speaker. And Kelly Krager with the Texas Tech Vietnam Veteran Oral History Project will be on stage with him, kind of doing that guided discussion with Tom. So nobody knows more, in my opinion, about the Vietnam War as a whole than Kelly, because he has done so much study and so much research with this oral history project, the largest oral history project files in the country. So if you're a Vietnam vet and you have not yet talked to Kelly, you definitely want to talk to him. He wants to hear your story.
Because he does taped interviews, and that way you have documentation where you told your story, because that's so important, not only for you to tell your story, but for your family to know things about you.
Absolutely. And then they go in the files at Texas Tech, and they'll be there forever.
And the lunch at the NASJRB, that is a huge undertaking. I mean, it doesn't just happen. I mean, months and months of meetings, preparation, Mary and her team coordinating with the base and the skipper's team and all the security that gets involved, the tables, the chairs, coordinating the volunteers getting on post, coming at the right time, have to get porta potties and just a whole host of stuff you got to do.
Yeah.
Will they have some static displays out there for us?
They're supposed to have some. We think that there will be at least 3. I know that Doug Peterson would be thrilled. I told the skipper he would be thrilled to see a helicopter out there again. We just have to make sure he doesn't try to get in and fly off. But Doug definitely appreciates when the helicopter is out there.
I don't think those guys that fly helicopters, it's kind of like riding a bicycle. I don't think you can forget it, because Jim Thomason, he was a Vietnam helicopter pilot, and he and his wife had gone. Jim has some friends in high places, so they had gone on a cruise, and this guy had a helicopter on his ship, on his yacht, and he and Jim took the helicopter up, and Jim, this just a couple of years ago, was able to fly it around. So
yeah, I think you're right, like riding a bicycle.
I never have flown a helicopter. I've flown in them, but never flown them. So a lot of stuff coming up. Again, we've got Don Graves' birthday, and just go to roll-call.org to find more about that, his birthday party. And also we've got the scholarship, where you can donate for the scholarship. But when we talk about giving too, Roll Call's got to sponsor a veteran. And this, for just like $20 a month, you can help buy lunch for a veteran and kind of help with some of the costs that Roll Call has involved. So here's a QR code. You can find more about that at roll-call.org. We have War Stories coming up May the 8th. This is the American Legion Hall in Haltom City on Carson Street. We're going to have some Vietnam combat veterans there. We have dinner. and we're going to have a pinning of Vietnam veterans, and it's going to be a great evening. This is done with roll call, of course, Hometown Heroes, Freedom Mobility, Smiles for Vets, and the Fort Worth Air Power Council. We've all teamed together to do this, and the Matt and Jean Tuggy with Smiles for Vets are helping to underwrite this, and it's only $20 for an evening with some other great patriots. So you can go to roll-call.org or do this QR code. We've got probably by this weekend we'll have it pretty well sold out, because once we announce it again at roll call with 700 or 800 people there, I'm sure that the other seats will fill fast. So get on there today if you want to go hear these veterans. And I saw this pop up today, and look who the keynote speaker is, none other than Mary Staffeld. This is on Memorial Day, and Mount Olivet just does a tremendous job at recognizing our veterans and our fallen on Memorial Day. So, we've got a lot of friends there. We've got Charles and Carlos, city councilman, and Jeanette. And then, of course, we've got Jungus Jordan. And Jungus, his father, he's a former city councilman. He's U.S. Air Force retired. He tells a story about Jungus, how he got the name Jungus. His father was in the South Pacific, was a prisoner of war, and Jungus was some name. I've tried to get him on the podcast, but our schedules just haven't worked out. But he tells how he got that name. Of course, Tim O'Hare, the county judge, and then the skipper will all be there. So it's a free event, and be there or be square, right?
Yeah, it's I've been taking Don the last couple of years to sing. Unfortunately, he'll be, I guess fortunately for him, he'll be singing in our nation's capital on Memorial Day weekend this year. So he won't make this one to sing, but he usually sings there. So I've been going with him the last several years, and it really is quite a special commemoration. I think they do such a great job helping people remember what this day is really all about. So it hopefully I don't disappoint.
Oh, you'll do good. You'll do good. I'm proud of you.
Okay.
The first annual Tip of the Spear Gala, we had Roby on the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, from the Tip of the Spear. And they go out in Ukraine and teach the Ukrainians how to locate and disarm landmines. So that's a great event at the Dallas Country Club. If you haven't been to Dallas Country Club, this is the way to get in. So it's a very nice venue.
Yeah, they do a nice job.
And then the Patriot Roundup, and this is the Air Power Foundation. This is the second annual. It's going to be at the Cowtown Coliseum. It's just a great evening with some great patriots, and it's coming up. Just go to airpowerfoundation.org, and you can find out more about that. So just a little bit of the things that are
going on.
A lot of stuff going on.
And the day after Don's birthday on May 4th, of course, that whole weekend is race weekend at the Texas Motor Speedway. And our good friend, Mark Faber, who is in charge of that motor speedway, he has been honoring Don for the last several years. Don has sang God Bless America the last couple of years at the race when they have it here. But this Sunday, the 4th of May, at the NASCAR race, Don will be singing the national anthem.
Wow. At the NASCAR race.
At the NASCAR race, the day after his 100th birthday. What a treat. So, if you haven't been to a race, I know people go, I watched it on TV and it was just so boring or whatever. You have, to me, and I'm a longtime race fan, but sitting in the stands outside, listening to the engines, being there with people. Oh, the people are always so amazing. Everybody is always so nice. People are talking, people are interacting. It's not like, you only talk to the people you came with, but it's really a pretty incredible event. And to be there and to feel the roar of the thunder of those cars and everything, it's just really a neat experience. So if you haven't been, I encourage you to get some tickets, go out there and enjoy the day, but be there to support Don as he sings the day after his 100th birthday. He's going to sing the national anthem. What a treat.
Absolutely. There's not many 100-year-olds that are out there singing the national anthem. And I think the week after that, he's going to go to Nashville for.
Yeah, a couple of days after that.
Yeah.
It's Monday or Tuesday after that. He goes to Nashville.
I was at a meeting and they were talking about the itinerary, and oh my gosh, he's got so much to do, so many interviews, so many places to go. And last year, we had this Panther music event and had some songwriters from Nashville come in. They got with Don, they made a song, and I think they're going to record it and record it with Don there. Right. So just a great time for Don. And I'm going to leave y'all with this. We'll come back on right after this, but this is just kind of some of the places we've been to and heard Don sing God Bless America.
Are you ready? Yeah. Sing out. Here we go. God bless America, land that I love,
And beside her, and guide her through the night with the light from above.
from the mountain to the prairie, from the ocean, why we fall. God bless America,
My home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Don Graves, nobody like him. 100th birthday coming up, and just try to be there to celebrate his birthday. He's a special American and a great hero. Thank everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week. We've got the sound of freedom coming over. I can hear that jet coming.
Just in time.
We'll see y'all next week on the Hometown Heroes.